Okay, we're going to make a dish called Pla Neung Mnao, which is a fish dish. Pla means fish, and Neung Mnao means steamed with lime. There's the limes. We're going to combine this with a dish called Tom Yam Goong, which is a hot and sour. Goong means prawns. Hot and sour fish prawn soup, and we're going to kind of combine these two to create something which I think is one of my favourite dishes. It's dead easy to make if you've got all the ingredients, and they're all in front of us here. Okay, we're making Pla Neung Mnao with a kind of tom yam soup over it. The two dishes aren't that dissimilar, and I think they combine wonderfully. There's quite an overlap with most of the ingredients. So in here we've got garlic, we've got lemongrass, which I've kind of just taken the outer shell off and bruised. We've got ginger, which I've just peeled and chopped up into chunks so that the blender can deal with it a bit more easily. I've got chilies, I've got 5 of them. I've got galangal, which I've just taken the outer skin off, I haven't bothered too much with it. That's what it looks like to start with. There's the lemongrass and the ginger and chilies. What else have I got in there? I've got the juice of half a lime to start with. I'll probably put another one in, but I don't want to overdo it. You can always put more in, you can't take it out. And that's it for now. We're also going to put in some coriander in a second. You can, when you make tom yam soup, just boil all this away with a little bit of shrimp paste. Now, shrimp paste is here. This is probably the only thing in the world that smells worse than fish sauce, which is there. It's paste made of shrimps, and it is vile in terms of how it smells. Anyway, it adds a wonderful sort of fishiness or shrimpiness, I guess, to the soup, which is important. You could use a fish stock for this, and I guess that's where the shrimp paste comes in. I'm just going to use some stock cubes to give it a bit of flavour. But if you really want to get carried away, you can use stock, and I guess that would make it even nicer still. So what I'm going to do, as I said, you could boil all this up as it is, but and then fish the bits out, but I want to get as much flavour out of these pieces as I can, so I'm going to blitz this. I'm going to blend it until it's as smooth as I can get it. Then I'm going to make the soup with it, and then I'm going to strain it through a sieve afterwards to take all of the sort of fibre out, so that we're just left with the flavour at the end. I'm going to oven roast a fish, which I'm going to dress, as you'll see in a minute, with some chilli and lime and garlic and a little bit of lemongrass and maybe a couple of the other bits as well. And that's going to steam in the oven in some foil for probably 20 minutes. And then the soup that I make out of this stuff is going to get poured over the top with some fresh coriander, and it's going to be wonderful, as you'll see. Okay, so in here we've got all of the blended mix of galangal, ginger, garlic, chilli, lemongrass, and the kaffir lime leaves, and a bit of lemon juice. I'm not going to fry this off at all. I'm just going to add some boiling water to that and some stock cubes. I would use chicken stock, but to be quite honest, the flavour of this is going to be so intense and there's so much coming out of the fish that I don't know if it's necessary. What we're going to do here is just boil this away and get as much of the flavour out as we can, and then I'm going to start adjusting it by tasting it and adding. I've added some shrimp paste to this, and that's going to give it, I guess, the depth of flavour that maybe a fish stock might. And then I'm going to add some of this palm sugar to give it the sweetness, and hopefully the kick that we're going to get from that chilli and the wonderful aromatic flavours of the lemongrass and ginger and galangal are all going to work together. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then, as I said, we're going to put fresh coriander in here right at the end, and I'm going to pour it over the fish, which is here. And I may even chuck some bean sprouts over it as well, because they're quite nice. I guess the rule with this is just doing what you like. I know these flavours, I know what I like, I know how spicy I like it, I know how sweet and sour, etc, etc. So you just do what you like, once you're confident that you know the flavours. To start with, keep it simple, get the balance right, get the seasoning right. The saltiness is quite important. The saltiness can come from salt, or it can come from fish sauce. Now, with your shrimp paste, this is going to give quite a powerful edge, and it's very easy to overdo the fishiness, especially with the shrimp paste, but this stuff is dead good. Don't be put off by the fact that it stinks, because it is important. Anyway, that'll do for now. Okay, so what we're going to try and do is just get as much of this flavour into the fish, and we want it in these gashes in the flesh, because it's going to, as it steams, all that flavour is going to sort of get into the fish itself, and then we're going to get to eat it. Now, we're not losing any of this. I know I've not put it in the soup, but when we pour the soup over this, we're going to get all the flavour from this still in there. The beauty of doing it this way, only having a bit of the flavour actually in the fish rather than all of it and steaming it all together, is that you don't get all of the fibres. This is really fibrous. The lemongrass, ginger and galangal are all really fibrous things. And when you make the soup, make this dish with all the flavours in the fish. The soup really isn't that kind of nice in your mouth. It tastes wonderful, but the texture of it is kind of fibrous, I guess. So this way, hopefully, is a way around it. And what we're going to get is a wonderful clear soup with no bits in it. And the flesh of this fish is just going to be wonderful, nice and tender. So that's all done, and I'm just going to cover that over with foil, and that's going to cook in the oven for about 20 minutes until it's done. A bigger fish, this is actually a fairly chunky one, this might be more like 25, you're going to have to judge it. I'll show you that when it comes out of the oven. Okay, secret weapon, concentrated chicken stock from Marks and Spencer's. The ingredients are chicken stock, salt, yeast extract, sugar, vegetable fibre, corn flour, mushrooms. So there's nothing nasty in there. It is quite salty, but if you've not got your own chicken stock for whatever you're using, this is as good as I've found anyway. It tastes pretty good on its own. They also do a beef one and a vegetable one. Vegetable one I chuck in most things I'm cooking just because it gives a good sort of base flavour. I'm just going to put a little bit of this chicken stuff in, just into this this stock, just to give it the soup, just to give it a bit more kind of depth of flavour. Okay, so I'm just putting in some palm sugar. I've put about that much in already. What I'm trying to do is make this start tasting. It's got a wonderful sort of aromatic, it smells great. Tastes a bit kind of watery and not as pungent. This should be a really kind of rich, pungent flavour. You see all the bits in there. What I'm going to do once we've got this tasting right, I'm going to just strain it to get all the bits out. Let me taste it again. Yeah, that's better. It should have a really rich, that's chili's gone right to the back of my throat. It should have a really rich kind of, I think it might need more citrus, so I have to put some more lime juice in it. It definitely needs more citrus. It's sweet enough. So, cool, spicy enough as well. Where's my juicer gone? Okay. Fork it is. And we've still got the coriander to go in. So we don't need any more sweetness in there. We might need saltiness. Maybe some fish sauce can go in. A bit of this lime. Give it a bit more sharpness, a bit more acidity. Okay, fish sauce, Nung Pla. Nam means water, Pla means fish. There we go, a little bit at a time. Now this might seem a little bit like kind of hit and miss that we're building up this flavour and just adding stuff ad hoc, but what you don't want to do until you've perfected your recipe, and I'm doing this differently today so it's kind of a new experience, but until you've perfected your recipe, you add stuff gradually, because once you've added it, you can't take it out. Anyway, give it a taste again, see what we've done. Oh, that's miles better. The fish sauce is just kind of giving it a saltiness. The lime juice giving it that acidity, and it really brings out all of the other flavours. That is Aroy Mac, which means delicious. And just to test, I'm going to get my brother to taste it and see what he thinks. Good. Spicy. Couldn't have scripted that better. It is spicy. Okay, so the fish is just about ready to go in the oven. What I've done is put some slices of lime on top here, just to get the whole lemony thing going. And I've got a load of fresh coriander, which I'm just going to stuff inside here. And that's going to give it a bit more flavour, and that will kind of be there when I pour the juice over it, the soup. But that's it done, and all we're going to do is cover it with foil, which is here, and then that will go in the oven on 200 for about 20 minutes. Maybe a little bit longer because that's slightly bigger. 20 minutes for a 2-person fish, I guess. Okay, that'll do. good question my brother just asked is how do you know when it's cooked? Well, if you, and I'll show you this when it comes out if I remember. When it comes out, if you just kind of, the flesh, obviously the skin's going to be a lot easier to give, but you can just pull it aside, and obviously at the surface it's going to be cooked, but dig down. At the moment the flesh is a kind of pale colour, it goes white when it's cooked. Dig down, is it white? Another way to do it is stick the fork in, pull it out, touch it to your lip. Does it feel hot? If it's a fresh fish, it's not too much of a concern anyway, provided you've got it just about cooked through. I like sea bass. Not rare, but you don't want it overcooked. Overcooked is worse than slightly under. And when you pour the soup over it, that's going to be boiling hot anyway, so that normally kind of finishes it off. Also, this dish, this oven-proof dish, is Pyrex. It's going to retain a lot of heat, so it probably will continue cooking once you take it out of the oven anyway. Okay, so this is done. I've not added anything since I kind of seasoned it. It smells wonderful, tastes wonderful. All I'm going to do is just pour it through this sieve so that all the bits of fibrous stuff, because we've got the flavour out, tastes just as I want it to. All of that stuff is going to get taken out. It's done its job. And what we're left with is a lovely clear soup, which, not clear, it's cloudy, but a soup without bits in. Just squeeze all that out. There we go, job's good. Now, in Thailand or wherever, Thai restaurants, if you order this soup, tom yum soup, this is served often with a boiler, a flame underneath it, in a pan, and you get raw, certainly in Thailand, raw prawns, fish, chicken, and you stick it in on skewers, much like you would do with the fondue, I guess, to cook it in the soup, and then you can serve it up. Other restaurants you might get it just kind of in a big bowl with mushrooms and stuff in it, but that's the basic soup. That's probably what they have in huge cauldrons in their kitchens, and it's absolutely delicious. Fish has just come out of the oven. I put some foil underneath it as well as on top of it, so I could create a good seal, because I couldn't seal it around these sides very well. It's been in for just over 20 minutes, so I hope it's done. All I'm going to do is take the top layer off and have a look. If it's not done, it'll go back in the oven. And all we're going to do is pull these aside, they've done their job, just have a look in. That looks, I don't know if you can see that, it still looks quite pink, so that's going to go back in the oven for a bit. So that's how you tell, that bit in there needs to be nice and white. So I'm just going to remake the seal. It's kind of good that you get to see me doing this. Trial and error. As I say, you're better off taking it out and finding it's underdone than leaving it in too long. You can always put it back in for a bit longer, but you can't uncook it. Okay, this is out of the oven again, and that's nicely cooked. We're going to pour the juice over it now anyway, so I wouldn't worry about taking the bottom bit of foil out. It's foil, it's not going to taste of anything. I'm just going to pour our soup concoction over it, and we've got something like a cross between Tom Yam Goong and Pla Neung Mnao. And we're going to put some bean sprouts and fresh coriander over the top of that. That's going to be wonderful. Last thing, fresh coriander, leaves and stalks and everything. I'm just going to, should really chop it, but all the chopping boards are dirty, so I'm just going to tear it up and sprinkle it over. That's just going to give it one final nice twist. The stalks are actually really tasty, so we want all of that in there. It's going to infuse into the soup. Bargain, job done. Okay, we're halfway through. The bones just come out. It's absolutely amazing. And it goes particularly well with red curry and krapao.